All right, guys. So I just want to share a couple of simple concepts and a little backstory that I have about using a pendulum when you're doing spirit communication or evocations, which I like to just call evos for short. But anyway, I have here the sigil for the Olympic spirit of the planet Mercury, Ophiel, which comes out of the Arbital of Magic. It's just a small little grimoire from the 1600s. Uh, Not a lot in it. Some of the stuff in it's pretty deep. Some of it's pretty, I guess, typical, for lack of a better word. It has the sigils for the Olympic spirits in there. Now, the Olympic spirits from the Arbital of Magic, these were spirits that I for some reason I just never worked with them. I just kind of kept putting it off and not doing it, and there were those spirits that I don't know. But when I moved to Utah, I finally started working with them, and I was kind of impressed because for celestial spirits, they do seem to work pretty fast compared to some of the other celestial spirits out there, like angels and stuff. But they work reasonably fast. They're safe. They're smart. They'll help. They're very helpful. Now, the backstory to this is, uh, about 10, 15 years ago, there's a lot of heated debates going on in the magical communities about using circles for your sigils. The idea was that a circle would trap the energy in and not allow it to manifest. And if you didn't use a circle, it would fill the whole room up with the energy. And so I like to just try things out. When I hear something, I just want to try it, and see if there's any weight to it. And so I went probably almost a year without using a circle around my sigils. And this is like 12 years ago or something. This is like forever ago, right? So when I finally, after about a year, tried using a circle again, and not using a circle worked great. I mean, that's one of the things about magic and radionics and metaphysics is, like there's always going to be a better way to do something. But one thing I've always found is almost anything works. I mean, there's almost no wrong way to do magic. It's, some things will definitely work better for others. You're going to be on your own journey for that. So getting back to the story, when I finally started using the circle again, the first thing I noticed right away was how much better it concentrated the energy inside of the circle when you're activating your sigil, right? Just concentrates that energy so much better. And when I noticed that, and I don't even know why, but I just happened to have a pendulum. And so after the first part of the evocation, after I'm using the mirror and the smoke and everything, after I've asked all the major questions, because I prefer just communicating with spirit, just using just communicating with it. I really don't like pendulums. And at the time, especially, I didn't really care for pendulums and Ouija boards. Ouija boards are really slow, man. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used a Ouija board. I mean, everyone has like a kind of a cool or interesting story with them, but they're really slow and they're really boring. When you get good at communicating with spirits, the one thing I like about a Ouija board though is you can if you channel a spirit, you can channel the name for it pretty easily. That's one thing I thought was cool with those. But getting back to it, so I work through the evocation, and then I noticed when I held the pendulum over there, it was like a really strong, from all that concentrated energy inside the circle where the sigil is, I got really strong answers for yes and no. And you can really feel it with a well-activated sigil full of energy, right? So I started kind of playing with it. And one thing I do like, so after I do my formal communication, and when I'm kind of getting close towards the end of the Evo, I'll just kind of get into a meditative stance. I'm not trance. I'm not even paying attention to the mirror anymore and the smoke. I'm really just kind of looking down towards the sigil and just kind of getting to that meditative trance, and then just kind of start communicating and talking about things. And you can feel right away, even if you're not even paying attention to the sigil, because you can feel that sigil, the pendulum swing for yes and no. And you get real strong, real definite answers. And I really appreciated that. Um, at the time, I thought it was kind of profound. I was like, wow, circles are pretty cool and pendulums are kind of cool when you're using a circle with a sigil. So, and so anyway, have you guys tried experimenting going with circles for your sigils and without? And if you guys have any stories about that, put them down in the comments down below. I'd like to hear that kind of stuff. But yeah, now, I don't really use the pendulum as much anymore because after I got good at, I'm pretty decent at spirit communication. And when you get good at that, like I said, a lot of these tools are just kind of good at getting in the way. But when I got really good at muscle testing, and my journey into that, my introduction into that was from doing the emotion code. But once I got good at muscle testing, you don't really need that as much because when you're in a meditative trance and you're working with the spirit, after you get good at muscle testing, you'll feel a pull forward for yes, and then a push back for no. And feel like a click for yes and like a disconnect for no. And I'll do a video on muscle testing sometime in the future, and probably do a pretty thorough one because it is one of those things that's pretty useful. But so these are, like I said, this is the basic concept, a couple ideas, a little bit of a backstory. And if you guys have any tips or tricks or any ideas that you've worked through with spirit communication, throw them down in the comments. I love hearing about it. So that's it for now. As per usual, I wish you all the best on your magical journey. And I hope you guys all take care. Much love. Bye-bye.